and performing arts students in Illinois. And so we stand. We stand for the runners, debate team members, and basketball players. We stand for their coaches, officials, and adjudicators. We stand for the drummers, football players, and actors. We stand for the golfers, singers, and swimmers. We stand as the national leader and advocate for these essential activities and all who participate in them and make them possible, because it is our purpose to ensure that high school students get to play, perform, and compete together. To learn more about who we are and what we stand for, visit nfhs.org.
Raising little ones is a big job, and Bright by Text is here for support. Get helpful tips, info, and activities sent to your phone. Bright by Text is for caregivers of kids newborn to age 8. It's a public service, and it's available in English and Spanish. Sign up now by texting UWLC to 274-448. Help give your child a bright beginning. Bright by Text from United Way of Lake County. This message is brought to you by UCC Environmental.
WRLR 98.3 FM LP, Round Lake Beach, Illinois.
Good morning. Welcome into the Sports Corner with the Sports Guys for a Saturday morning. One of those bright and sunny ones. Sunglasses definitely included here today. A beautiful one to start out with. In fact, warmer weather coming throughout this weekend. Finally. Oh, my goodness. Hold on. Let me check here. It says spring has finally arrived. I was actually waiting till May 1st, to be honest. But good morning. We got a lot here to talk about. We'll touch on baseball, take a swing at what's going on with the Cubs, Brewers, White Sox here this morning. We'll also talk about the NBA with the Bulls, the Bucks as they get ready for the postseason that is coming up over the next week. We got some other things to talk about. The conclusion of an outstanding NCAA tournament, both the men, the women, and we're not going to slide on the ice, but we might trip and fall for the Frozen Four. Swamp Rat College segment coming up in about a half an hour with Tomas Moran will help us out from Northwestern. We'll also talk about some high school sports. Got an interview with the best Lake County soccer team right now, and that's Libertyville Wildcats. New coach that is over there, Ian Taylor, joins with me over the top of the hour, or should I say after the top of the hour. We'll also talk some other sports. We'll even get some swing on the stick with the Blackhawks as they conclude their season in the next week. We'll talk about the Wolves headed to the playoffs, and we'll get around the track with some auto racing, golf, the Masters. I want to inquire, how do I get a green jacket? Please help me out. But we'll talk about the Masters and some other things here on the Sports Corner. Let's welcome in somebody who's on the other side of the table. That's, I don't know who he is, but he's here every week, and that's Mr. Bruce Becker. Buzzin' Bruce Becker.
Yes.
And on the phone line, not in the studio yet. He's going to get here sooner or later, more later than sooner. And that happens to be Brian Timms. How you doing, Brian? you knew. Yeah.
Did I get a double buzzer?
That's what he said.
I didn't hear that.
I think he's trying to elaborate something to you.
Probably should have gotten a double buzzer.
Oh, yeah, I heard about this. There's a Goose family that's there, and they've cordoned off a certain section. Is that in right field or left field? Can you give us more info on this? Right field. And the thing is, they can't displace them. It's nature, and it's got to run its course. They've actually let this family stay there.
Could be worse. Could have been a black cat.
Well, I don't know what's going on, but I will say this, and I'm glad you kind of brought up the Cubs right away, because I am not in a good mood. I watched the Cubs game last night, stayed up late for it. I do not like the fact of what I see, guys, about this team. They've got something in their minds, something in their heads here that they cannot beat the Los Angeles Dodgers. And for some reason, when you watch them go against the Dodgers, they cannot hit them either. 2 hits last night. 2 hits. That was awful. One of them I know was from, Kyle Tucker. I forgot who got the other hit last night, but I'll just say this. Great pitching performance by Matt Boyd. I thought he did a great job working the hitters and pitching really well. Made one mistake in the 6th inning, which Edmonds hit out of the park, but that's what happens to the Cubs. We've seen this the last few years, that they can look so good, but they make that mistake, and other teams will pay in that situation, especially the Dodgers, because they know how to win in games. They've got the players to win, and the Cubs have players, but they don't have what they need to get over the hump completely against the quality teams. And yes, they're playing a brutal schedule. Bruce and I will admit to that. We've talked about that over the last month, that this month of April is a tough schedule, tough beginning schedule for them against a lot of quality teams. But you got to find ways to win. And for some reason, the bats disappeared last night. And they might disappear. That's what scares me about their upcoming schedule, with the Dodgers in LA over at Chavez Ravine, and then they have to take on the Padres. And then you got some other quality teams coming to town. Arizona comes to town down the road. It doesn't look like it's going to get any easier for the month of April here, guys. I'm worried. I hate to say it.
Well, first,
Yeah, that's another good story. You're right on. But then again, it wasn't. Was that Suzuki? That yes, I do remember he got hung up between first and second, and I do remember that now. And the Cubs, for some reason, can't come back. Not in LA with the the quality pitching that they have in the back of the bullpen. For the Dodgers. And it's weird too, because I saw a list last night of all the players they've got injuries on, but they're so deep, a lot of depth there, that Dave Roberts can pick anybody to get on that mound or anybody to hit. I mean, it's a tough lineup to go against. I get that, but the Cubs, they're good, but I just don't think they're that good against the quality teams. I'm worried about it, guys. I really am.
I think it's way too early to start worrying about it. Using that Pythagorean theorem, the Cubs have scored 96 runs and given up 71. They should be 11-5, and yet they're 9-7 because of the schedule they play. They're scoring a little over 6 runs a game and here's the problem. They're giving up almost 5 a game. And I've been saying that since the beginning of the year, that is an issue. Offensively, they're fine. They got a 114 OPS plus, but their pitching is 89 ERA plus. That's not going to cut it. And I've been harping on that since March. And now you've got a real big problem. Okay? Anytime you see a pitcher has to go get a second opinion, Justice Steele's not pitching until Memorial Day. So if you miss 8 starts or 9 starts there, and you replace it with somebody who doesn't get you a couple or 3 wins, now you've just given up 2 or 3 more wins for the season. Mm-hmm. And I said that from the beginning. They should have addressed this early. If they had addressed it with Suzuki not wanting to be a DH, with San Diego, they would pick up his contract. Dylan Cease would come to the Cubs, and you wouldn't have a problem right now. But now the Padres have played pretty well. So now you're going to have to wait at least until the trade deadline before you even get a run at that. So they have pitching problems right now.
I give a lot of credit to Craig Counsell. I give a lot of credit to the Cubs themselves for the way they played earlier this week. Brutal weather at Wrigley Field. Cold. I mean, really cold nights to be playing out there. Whether it was rain or it was really cold weather, and yet the bats were there. And it's amazing to me, going back to Monday, how they beat the Rangers 7-0. That was amazing to me. Amazing that they would hit the ball.
Well, Rusty, it's just as amazing that the Cubs went into Dodger Stadium and only gave up 3 runs. Mm-hmm. That's pretty good.
Oh, yeah.
That's pretty darn good. So you had a flat night at the plate. You see Yamamoto. What did you expect? You're looking at a team that could win 105 games this year.
But they were flat on Wednesday, the final game with Texas, too. And I get this feeling like there's something going on in their heads now all of a sudden. Oh, yeah, we can beat anybody. No, there's something going on. I get this worrisome feeling because – if they can't score the Dodgers, now you're looking at possibly getting, losing 2, maybe 3 games.
No,
Dodger
I don't buy
Stadium.
that for one second.
Well,
These are
I'm looking
professional
at what I
ball.
saw.
These are professional ball players. They know they're good. It's not in their head that they can't beat the Dodgers. If that was the case, it should be in everybody's head because they're going to win 105 games. These are pros. It's not in their head. It's got nothing to do with it. They had an off night. They've had a couple off nights. You're going to have those.
I'll even throw this out. They're going to take on the Dodgers again tonight. 10 start, not as late as last night, but still pretty late. And you're going to put Ben Brown on the mound. And I'm not big on him as your fifth starter.
Thank you very little. That was my earlier point.
Of course, they're going against who is this? Rick Sancelli? I've never heard of him. Oh, Suzuki. I'm sorry. You're going against Suzuki. So you got another tough pitcher for the Dodgers you're going against tonight, too. So, the Dodgers know how to pitch the Cubs. They beat them already now, 3 straight times now? Counting the 2 times in Tokyo. I don't like the scenario here. You need another starter at this point somewhere, but where are you going to find him? You got to make a trade for him somewhere. I don't think they're waiting.
It's too late for that now. It's already too late.
Now there was some rumor that they're going to pick up Cosgrove.
They already did.
They pick up Cosgrove.
They already did, but that doesn't help you at all. You need a quality starter.
Mm-hmm.
You blew that chance. That chance is gone now. Yes.
Well, unless they find something like a third tier or a third or fourth pitcher somewhere off somebody's team.
Well, here's a chance to make hay with this Suzuki because his whip is 2.07. Okay, so he walks a lot of guys. 11 walks and 8 in the 2/3 innings,
and that's something the Cubs have been doing really well during the stretch here over the last week. They've been able to get pitchers to throw a lot of balls out there.
If you remember, that was the way they were several years ago.
Even last night they did that.
Yeah, because if you're having trouble at the plate,
he was out of the game by the 6th inning. They had him throw 100 pitches.
There you
go.
They
really worked the counts well.
That's what you got to do. That's if you're having trouble at the plate with a certain pitcher, you want to get those walks. Mm-hmm. You could like Yamamoto. He's got 28 strikeouts in 22 innings. The guy's an outstanding pitcher. Not many people are going to beat this guy. So you can't look at it as the Cubs can't beat their, it's in their heads. No, it's not.
Mm-hmm.
No, I wouldn't either. I mean, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's the first game of the series. Who knows what's going to happen in the next two.
My fingers are crossed, but I got this funny feeling that we're looking at a possible sweep here.
Yeah,
I'll take a game. I'll tell you that the Cubs can just get out of these, the Dodgers and Padres and go 500. I'd be happy, but I'm worried about this stretch here.
Well, let's put it this way: the next 15 to 18 days is going to be brutal, like the rest of the season. But then think of this. Going the rest of the season, you're probably going to have the 4th or 5th easiest schedule going. Mm-hmm. And so we can't really judge any team until Memorial Day. That's the usual rule of thumb. Your team is what you are by Memorial Day, outside of maybe something I watched last night, the 1982 Milwaukee Brewers, who are like 3 games under 500 Memorial Day and blew everybody away the rest of the time.
Yeah, speaking of the Brewers, they beat the Diamondbacks last night on the road 7-0. And Jose Quintana, who they picked up recently, gets on the hill, has a pretty good outing last night, gets a win for the Brewers. I know, Bruce, you came in, that's nothing. But you know something? Maybe he's found some life with the Brewers. As I said before, I still think the Brewers are a team to watch out for. They're sitting right behind the Cubs. They're finding ways to win. Their youth are stepping up to win games. And that's the one thing I like about it. Even though they got swept by the Yankees in the opening weekend with those torpedo bats, gave up all the runs, this team has played pretty well after that series.
They've scored 75 runs, given up 74. They should be 500. They're a little over, so they've outperformed. Strangely enough, their OPS plus is 99, and their ERA plus is 82. They're not statistically, they're not a great hitting team, and they're certainly not a great pitching team. Mm-hmm. They've caught a couple of breaks, and in the end, it'll all smooth out.
They got a couple young pitchers. Keep an eye on them. Doing pretty well. Chad Patrick going to the hill tonight. And guess who they're facing tonight? A former Milwaukee Brewer, Corbin Burns. That'll be interesting to see what they do against the Brewers there. But I do like their bats. I mean, they're hitting the ball well. Yelich is off to a
Yeah,
good
but they're
start
really
to the
not
season.
hitting that well, Rusty. Their OPS plus is 99. That's average.
But you want to know something? They're finding ways to win.
But that won't last.
But that's the
In
one
the
thing.
long term, it won't last.
But that's the one thing about the Brewers. They find ways to win. How many walk-off wins did they have last year? A lot.
Last year is last year.
But
this
they still
year
got
is
that
this year.
feeling in them. Murphy does a good job as a coach.
You with a
And
99 OPS plus, you're not going to win a division. That's just not going to happen. It doesn't happen.
I say keep an eye on this Brewers team. They got some good young pitching. And
sooner
if
or
they're
later,
hitting,
if the
they're
roof
hitting
will cave.
hangs in there, I think this team's incredible.
They won't win that division.
Well, we'll see. We'll see where that goes over there. Hey, last night, the White Sox woke up. Finally, after what would they lose? 6, 7, 8 games in a row? I've lost count.
8, yeah.
But where did this come from with Boston? They come up with 11 runs last night. This came out of nowhere in my book. I just did not expect them to finally start hitting the baseball.
You know what's strange thing about the White Sox? They're drastically underperforming where they should be. They should be 6 and 7, and they're actually 3 and 10. Probably because their hitting is 76 on an OPS plus. But look, check out this pitching, 114. That's the best of the division.
They've had some decent starting pitching. I will say that.
They've been very, very unlucky so far.
Well, they haven't been hitting the baseball that great.
No, 76. That's terrible. And that's yeah. I mean, the team should. I mean, they've only. I lost it here. What was it? Doc got it. Probably, I would think so. Let's see that they've scored 46 runs and given up. Where is it? 46 runs. This should be a 500 team. And they're 3 and 10.
One thing you could do, you could go out to right field and get yourself a good seat these days. There's nobody going to the games.
3 or 4 years ago, you could too. I sat on the upper deck right on the first base line halfway for $25.
I mean, I don't know what they're averaging, but I saw a buddy of mine last night said he moved up to the 29th row on the lower portion. And he said, boy, did I get myself a good seat because there's nobody here. That's what he kind of said.
Yeah, well, it's also cold.
Well, yeah, it was a cold night last night, but still, what did they have, 10,000 that showed up? At Wrigley Field, they were still getting about 20,000 that showed up to the games this week against Texas. I think they were averaging 20 plus, but
I mean, the best two pitchers right now are Shade Smith and Martin Perez. Who the heck are these guys? As Jimmy Pearsall would say, who the hell is that?
But they're getting something out of them. They're getting good innings out of them, though. They're getting 4, 5, 6 innings.
That's not bad.
I mean, if you get something that can work for you, why not?
Here's a guy, Perez, 12 and a third innings. He's got an ERA of 0.72, and even his FIP, field independent pitching, is 233.
And he's pitching, by the way, this afternoon for the White Sox against Richard.
He's 34 years old.
So, he may be a veteran, but they've got something going with them there. I mean, Will Venable's getting something out of the team, but
can I ask this question?
These losing streaks are going to hurt for the White Sox.
Can I ask this question for both you guys?
What's that?
Why is Mike Clevenger on this team?
Didn't he blow a save the other day too?
He was it what hit? Was it fill me in here? Do you remember, Brian? Was it a hit batter or 3 walks? Yeah. Why is he? There's no purpose to him being on this team. Oh, nobody wants him. That's why he's on the White Sox. I would just launch him. I mean, there's no reason to have him on this team.
A couple other notes around baseball. Marcus Stroman, boy, what's going on with him in New York? He got rocked in the first couple. He normally pitches well early in the season, but former Cub having problems for the Mets here. And by the way, he ended up going to the hospital to get his knee tested, thinking that's the problem. I don't know if that's it. I think it's something in his mind more than that. So I don't know. But
wow, Stroman's ERA plus is 35.
I know it's crazy. One thing I've been noticing about baseball, there's a lot of injuries showing up here early in the season. I don't understand why. Cornwell's headed to the DL. He's got a fracture. A right rib fracture, a couple other players too around various teams. Is it the cold weather? Is it something going on in baseball, or is this just common? I don't know.
I don't know.
We're seeing a lot of injuries.
The whole season is kind of weird. I mean, look
Pablo Lopez on the 15-day DL with a strained hamstring. Now, hamstrings can be common. Look, take a look what happened to Mike Tauchman. Rounding third, chance to win the game, and next thing you know, he comes up lame with a hamstring. You're right. He ended up, short of home plate.
Yeah, he couldn't make it.
And I just...
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Hold on. Wait a second. That's
I
not
don't mean to laugh, but
that's not part of his contract.
That's a slippery
you shouldn't
slope
be sliding on the shoulder.
It's a slippery slope, right?
Yeah.
No, the whole... Right now,
I've heard stuff like this in the past, stuff with luggage and,
Yeah, but you know what?
Bikes. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
This is turning out to be a real weird season to start with. I mean, you look at the White Sox at 3-10. Guess who else is 3-10? The Atlanta Braves.
Now, the Atlanta Braves, I don't understand that. They got off to a horrid start. They won a game or two. They're struggling again. This is something we've not seen out of the Atlanta Braves for many years. They've always been close to the top. Slow starts are something that is very unfamiliar for the Atlanta Braves. The question is, can they recover? That's the big scenario here.
Well, look at Boston, 7-8, and Baltimore's 5-8. What is that about?
Some of this has to do with scheduling. Some of it has to do with the rough starts, to be honest. I mean, you take a look at if you want to look around baseball, it's crazy with the West right now that you're looking at.
Oh, yeah.
The Padres 11-3. Giants are 10-3. They were 9-1 at one point. And the Dodgers are 11-4. We expect the Dodgers to be there, but do you expect us to have three teams out west?
Well, San Diego, two of those losses were the Cubs.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So the Cubs really aren't so bad after all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but by the way, the Mets are leading on the Eastern Division right now, 9-4. Then you got the Phillies 8-5, Washington 6-7, Marlins 6-7. Then you got those Braves down there at 3-10.
And Colorado at 3-10.
Well, that's out west.
They're bad.
Yeah, I would talk about that division. It's really strange. And you look at the American League West. Rangers are playing really well till they played the Cubs this week, but that division seems to be bottlenecked. I mean, it's early. The first couple of weeks of the season, everyone's going to be, kind of together, and then sooner or later, you see teams kind of pull away.
And that was my point about the Cubs and Brewers. It's still early, way early. Mm-hmm. Atlanta is capable of running off 6 or 7 in a row, then they're 500. So it's way early. We'll know more in the next 5 to 6 weeks.
All right. Hey, guys, I want to go over to the NBA and talk a little bit about the Bulls. Big win last night. They beat Miami. They've clinched the number 9 spot. They will play one more game with the Washington Wizards, and then they'll have that preliminary play-in game, which will be next Wednesday. But we've said this before. They kind of hit their number where they needed to be. It was said, 37.5? They're right around there.
Yeah, it was 37.5, and they're 38.
Are we happy the fact that the Bulls are going to be in a play-in game?
No.
I mean, if they win, they got to go after one more. A chance to end up in the number 8 spot, probably, maybe the number 7 spot. No, they can't get the 7 spot.
No, they only get to 8, and then lose their lottery pick.
And then they're going to end up playing Cleveland. I mean, but then again, Cleveland's been only a 500 team in their last 14.
They're still 64-17.
Yeah. Yeah, they beat them handily.
Probably resting players.
Mm-hmm. Well, the Bulls are resting players for Miami. That's what they claimed.
I got to hand it to you. Billy Donovan is one heck of a coach. He really is.
The only thing is about this Bulls team, I like what they did. You got rid of a number of players, and they still kind of performed, or more than what they should have this season with what they had on the roster. But where do they go from here? I mean, there's some talk that Jokic may come here. I don't see that happening.
No,
I don't.
What's the point of that?
The farm? You're going to have Jokic come here and then give up 3 or 4 more players. I just don't see them doing it, because then you have to pay for a big contract too on top of it.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. I mean, the Bulls are 4th in the NBA in pace, which is, up there with the top teams.
Mm-hmm.
But that's with that kind of team, the way it's structured, you get into the playoffs, you're going to get blown out on pace, because it's just not going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to look like Houston versus Florida.
I don't
Massive.
know about that.
Well, let's see. The eighth
Probably the same
seed-
place. I would think they'd be the same place.
Oh,
Either
no,
on the
I don't
edge of the
think so.
playoffs
No, they
or,
wouldn't be as good.
or in the play-in. I can see
No,
that.
I'm sorry. They would be better. They'd probably be a 500 team.
Oh, no. Well, it's a
Seems reasonable.
possibility.
Yeah, I think five better. Well, yeah, 5 better would be all right.
Mm-hmm. By the way, the Bucks beat Detroit last night, kind of clinched the 5 spot. They're going to open up with the Indiana Pacers for the first round of the playoffs. So basically, everything's set. Cleveland will get the winner of the play-in game. Boston will get the either Orlando or Atlanta, one of those teams. Then you got the Knicks will take on Detroit, and Indiana will take on Milwaukee. So that's kind of all set at this point. Out west, a little different story, guys. What's going out there? We know Oklahoma City's in the top spot. They've dominated by like 15 games. They've had things clinched for a long time, but they continue to keep winning. I mean, they're 67-14. What a year for Oklahoma City. Then you got Houston and the Lakers. It's kind of a bottleneck. You got like 5 teams within like 4 games of each other. So it's kind of like a bottleneck, and you almost have it set up there, but you could have some things change around over the next couple of days, certain positions, because Oklahoma will probably play the play-in game against maybe Dallas, Sacramento, one of those teams, because all the teams are set for the playoffs now. Phoenix missed out on making the prelim game, which is a shock and a half to me. I think they're going to have to get rid of their coach. They were 9-1 at one point, and they're 35-46 with a game left. Or 30. That's just horrible.
Who was that again?
They're 35-45 with a game left. 36-45 with a game left.
Who's that again?
Phoenix. And
Phoenix?
They were 9-1 when they started the season.
They're not going to fire their coach. He's a first-year coach, I think.
I think they need to get rid of him. I don't see what's going on there.
Nah, they're not fired him.
I've seen a couple games. I was out there. I just don't see anything
They're just
good
not that good a
with
team,
the Phoenix Suns. Lakers are in the 3 spot at the moment, and then they could open up against Golden State unless something changes in the next day or two with final couple of games. Denver and the Clippers right now locked up 4-5. Then you got the prelim games, which is Minnesota, Memphis, Sacramento, and Dallas getting in, which is kind of a shock after the trade with Doncic. They fell apart, but to sneak into playoffs, I that's some credit over there for Dallas Mavericks. I don't know. I'm still thinking the league is going to favor the Lakers sometimes. I just got that funny feeling that they're going to try to carry them as far as they can in the playoffs.
You are Mr. Conspiracy Theory,
no,
aren't you?
I'm not, because
you are.
I've watched a couple of games.
Come on. You are? Are you really?
I'm so glad Brian's on my side. No, I'm not going to go. I think it's going to be Oklahoma.
Rusty, mark the tape.
I'm thinking Oklahoma and the Celtics at this point, but keep an eye on the Knicks. I like what's going on there with Brunson and Towns. They got something going on there. They're not playing too bad. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Tom Thibodeau, he might overwork his players.
Does that sound familiar?
I don't know what's up with the Bucks here. They're in a good position, but the Bucks, if they can get by Indiana, can they get by Cleveland, though? I don't know if they can get by Cleveland the second round.
They're kind of limping along.
Well,
sort of.
I hate to say that
they're a conundrum.
But here's the odd part. The Bucks have put together a 7-game win streak here at the end of the season. All right, to prove their status. Make it known that they can do something, mostly at home. They're 26-14 home, 20-20 on the road. So the question is, can they do it all together in the playoffs? I mean, you can probably win the opening series. I don't think they have too many problems with Indiana, but what's going to be with Cleveland, though? Can they stop the Cavaliers? I mean, Cavaliers are only a 500 team in their last, 14 games. They've been struggling here and there at times, especially on the road. But I just don't know what's going to happen, but maybe they're set up something here. Maybe the Bucks are set up that they can't get by Cleveland. That's a big question too. Is he still out? Mm-hmm. They're trying to get him back for the playoffs. Yeah. See if they can get him back. I don't know if he's going to be, able to be there the whole playoffs. I mean, he may be limited minutes too.
Well, that's possible.
So I don't know if that's going to be the case there. So we'll see what happens on that. Like I said, there's they'll finish up this weekend, and the preliminary games will start midweek.
Yeah.
On Wednesday is when the Bulls will host the Heat, if you want to catch that game. I don't know. I got a feeling they're going to start that early in the evening, like 6:30, 7 o'clock, something like that. They'll have a West game after that. That's just my feeling. I don't have the set time on that game of when they're going to play it. But we'll see what the Bulls can do. I think they could beat the Heat Wednesday, but I don't know if I'm that excited they can win the next game and then get the number 8 spot.
I'm not. I don't want them to win the next game. Put it that way. Not having a lottery pick right now would just put the Bulls in what's called basketball hell, where you're always going to be around 500 and you really don't know what to do with it.
But do we really think the? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're a little more, how would you say, attractable now than they weren't used to be. Guys might say, maybe if I joined that team, we could go somewhere. But I don't think you're coming from a team that's going somewhere already. I don't think you would leave that. We'll see how creative they can get.
I'm wondering how they will get creative. That's the question.
Well, that was my next question.
I mean, either you go big and then you
pick.
lose players, or you pick up, somebody in the middle somewhere that can do something.
I don't know what the odds are of them making the number 8 seed, but I'd be willing to say it's probably somewhere in the neighborhood of plus 450. That sound about right, Brian? About 4.5 to 1.
Yeah, but he's not gonna leave. He's not gonna leave. Yeah, I just don't see him leaving. I just
don't see the Bulls signing him.
But then again, there has been some controversy up there in Milwaukee with him.
Yeah, you don't want to with a young team like the Bulls, you don't want to introduce, questionable things.
That's not the point. I just don't think he's going to walk away from Milwaukee. So, all right, guys, we need to hit the break. Thanks, Brian. We'll see you in about an hour, okay?
Later.
All right. Brian checking out. Swamp Rat coming up next. Recap the NCAA championship for the men and the women. Was this one of the best ever tournaments?
No. It was good.
Yeah. So we'll talk to Tomas Moran about that momentarily. Stay with us. More to come. Sports Corner Sports Guys for Saturday morning.
WRLR 98.3 FM LP, Round Lake Beach, Illinois.
Hey, cats and kittens. Join me, Gray Dolan, Sunday mornings at 11 for Mood Swings with Gray Dolan. Each week we'll visit a different genre, style, and mood of music here on The Life 98.3.
Programming on 98.3 The Life is sponsored in part by Oxtail Market in Lake Villa. Oxtail Market is a Schultze Family Farms retail store providing meat products direct from their own third-generation Wisconsin farms. Oxtail Market, they're bringing that farm-fresh experience of steaks and beef to their neighbors in Illinois. Oxtail Market is located at 777 South Milwaukee Avenue, that's Route 83, Unit J in Lake Villa. Their phone number is 224-372-1021. For more information, their website is SchultzeFamilyBeef.com.
If you're talking, they will hear you every single time.
Oh, we're getting killed.
Yeah, well, Kyle's not here.
How come?
Kicked off the team. Didn't Tim tell you? Kyle and some other kids got caught drinking beer in the park a couple of nights ago.
Really?
Yeah. 0 tolerance. He's out for the season.
Come on, it's a first offense, right?
That we know of. But why should it matter? He knew not to drink. I made it clear to Matt that's what we expect from him. What have you said to Tim?
Nothing really. A lot of kids this age, so.
Yeah, well, a lot of kids don't try it too. I'm not saying that Matt's going to be this perfect kid, but if I don't tell him what we expect and why he shouldn't drink, how's he going to know?
You think kids that age really listen?
They never admit it, Bill, but they hear more than you think.
Talk. They hear you. For more information about talking with kids about underage drinking, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
Kids don't come with instructions, but Bright by Text can give you some tips to make caring for a child a little easier. Bright by Text puts expert advice directly into the hands of parents and caregivers. Receive practical tips, games, and activities based on your child's age. Sign up now by texting UWLC to 274-448. Bright by Text from United Way of Lake County. This message is brought to you by UCC Environmental.
Hello, this is Ted Schneider, host of Improv Leadership, coming to you live on 98.3 FM The Life, Tuesdays from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. I'll discuss a variety of topics from relationship advice, self-improvement topics, motivational topics, mindful living, current events, book reviews, and even an occasional guest in the studio. So please join me on Improv Leadership, Tuesdays from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. on 98.3 FM The Life, or streaming live on 983thelife.com.
WRLR 98.3 FM LP, Round Lake Beach, Illinois.
Welcome back to the Sports Corner. Sports Guys for a Saturday morning. 45 degrees outside. Bright sunshine. I don't see a cloud in the sky here this morning. Got some light breezes. Pretty nice out there. We're going to break 60 today. I got that feeling. Could be a little bit cooler, though, near the lake. But other than that, it's pretty nice.
And then drop way back later this afternoon at the lake into the mid-40s.
Well, I said it'll be a little cooler near the lake at some point.
Mid-lake is only 40 degrees right now.
Oh, my goodness.
It's really cold.
Why do you think I always said that, spring doesn't start until May 1st?
I used to live in Evanston, about 1,000 feet from the lake.
Mm-hmm.
Spring didn't start till June 1st.
No, gee.
It's brutal.
Did you know most of this week it's been in the 60s to around 70 from basically Kankakee south?
Yeah, it was 72 in St. Louis yesterday.
I know. It's like, that's because of Lake Michigan.
No, actually it's not. It's because we're in the trough of the long wave.
Oh, it's
For those weather guys would know what that is.
Yeah, I know what it is. I get it, but it's still getting us caught with that.
And there's no sign we're going to be breaking out just yet. I think a couple of weeks. We're going to
just let anybody know, where I was a couple of weeks ago, they broke 100 degrees, 101 in Phoenix yesterday, 103 in Phoenix yesterday.
Yeah, it's a little early.
And it is early because it's usually May 11th when they get to 100.
But that's because we're cold.
Well, the thing is, as soon as that warm air decides to descend from the southwest to us on a normal basis,
then they're going to get cool.
Yeah.
They'll be down in the upper 80s, lower 90s. But you got to remember, with midsummer, 106 is the average high in Phoenix.
No kidding.
So, but anyway.
Speaking of hot, so was the NCAA tournament, and Tomas Moran in for the Swamp Rat College segment. Tomas, do you think this is one of the better NCAA tournaments this past year? Mm-hmm. And of course, the finishing touch of what happened Monday night. Talk about the way that game ended. But
cost me the bracket, darn it.
All I know is Florida kind of stole that away from Houston. Officiating, big question mark. Not many fouls first half, but a lot of them in the second half.
Yeah, but they laid off the last 3-4 minutes.
Yeah, but sometimes I wonder why you see that. I've seen that in high school. I've seen it in college. It was a good game. There's nothing wrong with that. Both teams are phenomenal teams. They're tough, working players out there. But, Tomas, when you see games go like that, give credit to Florida the way they won it, but I still felt like Houston should have won the whole thing.
That last play was probably the strangest play I've ever seen in a final possession.
He didn't get a hold of the ball. That's the whole thing.
No, he went up, and the guy was so far in his face, he had to drop the ball and come back down, and then he couldn't touch it.
Save us, Tomas. Please, save us. Going back to the committee, do we give a lot of credit this year to the committee that they got it right? Mm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the mid-major is getting hurt a little bit. Hey, I found this during the week, and this is interesting. Transfer portal players that are in the mix right now, 4,300. What? That's a lot of transfer portal players.
Wasn't there only 1,100 last year?
Hold it. I'm going further with this. Hold on. I got more information. Available JUCO players, which are trying to give, chances you can play longer if you get to a Division I program. There's 3,800 that are out there. Available NAIA transfers are 1,000 plus. That's 9,100 players that are out there. And here's the biggest kicker of them all out of all this. Division I scholarship schools currently open for players, 2,178. How tough is that when you're thinking about all these players are trying to go around, moving pieces and everything else? And, just think of players that are trying to get into college basketball.
Forget about the players. How about the coaches? Who wants to be a coach with that going on?
Well, yeah, that's true too. Right, Tomas? That's got to be another point there. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What? What?
Mm-hmm. 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 Let's talk about the women's side because we're back to UConn. Why not when you got a coach like Ariyama who's put out so many WNBA players and Paige Buchers, you got to really hand it to her. She has gone through injury after injury after injury the last few years. She stays healthy this year. And boy, UConn went on a roll down the stretch. Nobody was going to touch him. I mean, I feel bad for Juju Watkins, who got injured from USC, because she's going to be something the next couple of years. But give credit, because UConn came out like on fire the last few games. Nobody was going to touch them. Mm-hmm. 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 Yeah, yeah. By the way, let's say that Buchers finishes out like top 5 all total with points, and I know Caitlin Clark's got the number 1 spot still, but still the efforts that Buchers really gave, and she's probably going to be the number 1 pick in the upcoming draft, which is coming up on Monday in the WNBA. So, and then I think she's going to end up being with the Dallas Wings. It looks like they get the top pick, but I mean, it'll be interesting to see what she does in the WNBA. But I tried to figure out how players that have come out of UConn that are in the WNBA. I think there's got to be 40 plus players that are in the league right now. That's crazy. That's a crazy number. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. See, I wonder, Ariama, he's been there now so many years. I mean, you take a look, 12 national championships. He's been coaching for a few decades. At some point, he's going to step away. The question is when. And he's definitely going to be the GOAT among coaches in college basketball for what he's done. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Let's get to the ice because we don't touch on it too often. What about the Frozen Four? Who's left? And kind of some surprises out there. Mm-hmm. So who are you going to take for the final? Mm-hmm. By the way, we've been missing that baseball, softball, and a couple other topics of spring sports. We're going to bring those back next week. It's finally time. Don't you agree? Are you talking about what, softball? Is that what you're saying? Because I've seen some clips on. I was going to say I saw some clips on that on TV this week. They're getting some notoriety on TV, believe it or not. It's a team to watch out for, to be honest. And I will throw this. I caught something last night in the Ohio Valley Conference, I believe. Eastern Illinois' baseball team, 11-3 already. How about that? So something for you to check on. I know you didn't catch that one, but I happened to catch that. I think I saw that on a Facebook page. But 11-3, I'm like, Eastern Illinois baseball. I didn't expect to see that. And believe it or not, we're also going to check into College of Lake County. They seem to be having a good run, both baseball and softball, too. Is that softball we're talking? Is that? Oh, baseball-wise. Okay. That's good.
I hate ties.
Wait, how did you get a tie, though? They must have ran out of daylight. That's the only thing I can think of. There's no lights over there, huh?
They're not going to finish it?
Well, where are you going to do it if you don't have lights on the
No,
fields?
They
don't come back the next day. They got to go traveling, though.
Ties?
Well, what happens?
Well, what happens in soccer? That's worthless.
Yeah, but it happens, though. If you don't have daylight and you don't have lights, I know you can't move it over to
it's not like
the football field and play.
Well, it's not like you can pick it up the next day either.
Well, yeah, they got travel places to go. They got to be on their next site the next day, probably, wherever they're scheduled.
I guess. Still ruffles my feathers.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now it sounds like the NHL.
Mm-hmm. All right. Hey, Tomas, we got to let you go. So we're going to hit more on that next week. I know you're ready to game at the softball and the baseball. I can see that. All right.
See you later, bud.
Have a good one. Tomas Moran getting in touch with us all the way Northwestern.
Yeah, Rusty just goes right ahead and kicks him off the line.
Well, hey, we got to hit the break. Top of the hour. You know how that works. All right, we got to come back. We got some high school sports to talk about. The best soccer team in Lake County. We're going to hear from Ian Taylor after the break. Back with more Sports Corner Sports Guys for a Saturday morning.
WRLR 98.3 FM LP, Round Lake Beach, Illinois.
All right, folks, let's get started. Parents, thanks for coming. As many of you know, I'm Coach Mather. Tonight, I want to talk about the season, of which I only have one expectation, that everybody gets stronger. When I say get stronger, I'm not referring solely to physical strength. Sure, we'll be in the weight room, we'll be running stairs, but we're also going to focus on developing mental toughness and grit, because those are the characteristics that allow us to achieve greatness both on and off the court. So how do we develop those things? By getting comfortable with a challenge, by cultivating the confidence necessary to overcome adversity in all forms. That's why I coach. That's my purpose. Every member of this team can lean on me, and I'll teach them how they can lean on themselves and each other.
This message presented by the IHSA and the Illinois Athletic Directors Association.
Sports broadcasting on 98.3 The Life is brought to you in part by the law offices of O'Keefe, Lewis, and Bruno PC. 98.3 The Life has an ongoing commitment to Lake County and local high school sports broadcasting. O'Keefe, Lewis, and Bruno also has that commitment and is privileged to support high school sports on local radio. If O'Keefe, Lewis, and Bruno can in a real estate transaction or traffic matter, they can be reached at 846-75-4790. O'Keefe, Lewis, and Bruno, dedicated to serving our community.
Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr brings you closer to the pulse of our community, from real estate insights to local spotlights. Be with us every Wednesday at noon on 98.3 FM.
We are the NFHS. That stands for the National Federation of State High School Associations. But really, together with the IHSA are the 333,000 high school sports and performing arts students in Illinois. And so we stand. We stand for the runners, debate team members, and basketball players. We stand for their coaches, officials, and adjudicators. We stand for the drummers, football players, and actors. We stand for the golfers, singers, and swimmers. We stand as the national leader and advocate for these essential activities and all who participate in them and make them possible, because it is our purpose to ensure that high school students get to play, perform, and compete together. To learn more about who we are and what we stand for, visit nfhs.org.
Hey, cats and kittens. Join me, Gray Dolan, Sunday mornings at 11 for Mood Swings with Gray Dolan. Each week we'll visit a different genre, style, and mood of music here on The Life 98.3.
WRLR 98.3 FM LP, Round Lake Beach, Illinois.
Welcome back to the Sports Corner, Sports Guys, for a Saturday morning. 48 degrees our current temperature, bright sunshine out there. We'll get up to a high around 60 today, maybe above 60. In fact, I'm going to push. I'm pushing this up to 62 today. But slightly cooler near the lake.
Where? Now, if you're talking about McHenry County, yes.
Well, yeah. No, I just said.
We don't live in McHenry County.
What I'm saying, in Antioch, it might be 62 degrees on west end of Antioch. It might be.
That's a stretch.
But it's possible. I'm going to push it to 62 today. But like I said, slightly cooler near the lake, probably 50s near the lake for most of the day.
And then falling. The wind's going to turn east around 1 or 2 o'clock, and then it's going to be 40.
You're going to get me because...
Well, the Zion will be 46.
I got to make a run towards Lake Zurich, then I got to run back towards the lake again later this afternoon. By the time I get back to the lake, it's going to be cold.
By 6 o'clock tonight, it's going to be 46 in the Zion.
Oh, yeah. Well... What can you say? By the way, temperatures will fall back to the middle 40s tonight.
This is just
tomorrow up around 60, but more clouds.
No 70s in sight.
No 70s?
Not yet.
I thought a 70 for Monday.
No, it's not going to happen now.
It's not going to happen?
No.
What'd you do? Exit out?
Yes.
What'd you say? No, and you just
said no. I just put an X across the forecast, and that was it. Anyway,
that's the one thing that bothers me the most, Bruce, is because that lake water temperature, like you said earlier, it's 40 degrees.
Right at 40 in the mid-lake buoy. Along the shore, it's in the low 40s.
How are we going to be able to get that lake temperature up? Like I said,
you want to know something? No matter how cold. Now, keep this in mind. At one time, I forget the years, like maybe in the 80s, on June 2nd, the mid-lake buoy was 38.
Oh, you got to be kidding.
And yet, Lake Michigan mid-lake buoy has never failed to reach 70. It's always gotten to at least 70.
Now, hold on a second. Before we get to the high school sports, and I got the weather geek over here, it's like, why does it take so long for that lake to warm
water.
up? Well, I know it's a big, vast
it's water.
area.
It's the only lake inside the boundaries of the U.S.
I'm going to go take you to Lake Michigan and dunk you in it, okay?
Well, it is. That's, it's also the worst lake you want to be on in a storm.
You know how many parents that are ready to strangle you right now because they're tired of this cold weather?
Well, that's the blame the lake. Don't blame
I'm
me.
so glad we're going to high school segment here because
you better get there quick.
This past week is a typical spring that nobody likes.
Yeah, cancellations and doubleheaders.
Well, no, actually, a lot of teams got out there. Maybe not Wednesday because it rained and snowed and sleeted and it was nasty, but most of this week, they got out there and they played because we're getting to the point now in the second week of April that you have to get out and get your games in because you started conference games. And if you start putting these games off, there's not enough room in the back end of the schedule to get games out there. We've only got about a month left of the season here.
But think of this, Rusty, okay? Think about when you were that age. You didn't care what the weather was. You wanted to play ball.
Oh, well, kind of.
If it was 45 degrees, that didn't even cross your mind. I want to play.
I'll be honest. I was out reffing this week. Soccer reffing this week, and I'm wearing 5 layers, couple pairs of socks, hats, gloves, and I'm watching these ladies out there playing soccer. They are sitting there. When can we get done? I want to get off the field.
But
it's horrible.
That's the age factor.
But once you get, I'll be honest, once you get running around, you do feel warmer. You do feel it.
I will, and I could, yes, exactly.
It's better.
You're
But
exactly
when the
right.
temperature is 38 degrees and that wind is blowing off Lake Michigan at 15 to 20 miles an hour. And I remember Tuesday, the sun was out, but it was cold with the wind off the lake. And it felt like it was in the 20s.
But if you do keep moving, I mean, it does warm up.
A little bit, yes.
No, a lot.
But then
It really
all
does.
those outstanding parents that are out there watching the games, whether it's soccer, baseball,
Soccer would be the one you'd warm up.
lacrosse, and a few other sporting events that go on in the springtime, they don't want to be out there. They are sitting out there with their winter jackets on. They got the blankets around them. They got hand warmers. They're trying to find every which way to stay warm because they're not moving.
Right. Soccer is a primary example of you being warm for the whole game because you're always moving.
Yeah.
Baseball, who wants to stand out right field and not have anything for 10 minutes?
Yeah, baseball's tough. Softball, well, softball's a little faster, yeah.
Yeah. But again, when you're that age, in your teens, high school and stuff, in college, you don't even think about it. You just want to play ball.
Well, you want to play, that's right. But just
And you don't care how cold it is.
Just remember, this is now April 11th. You've got a month left of the season, and you've gotten yourself into conference play in a lot of your sports.
Yeah.
And you don't want to have cancellations because then those athletic directors, coaches, they have to make up those games somewhere.
Unless it's raining or snowing, those kids want to play.
Oh, well,
they probably
want
play
you
in
to
the rain.
too. Well, they want you to play unless it's severe weather or if there's snow on the ground.
Yeah. Well, don't quiet.
And the thing is, we don't want to see that again.
No,
and it
no.
can happen here in April.
It sure can.
All right, let's get to our high school sports. I did catch up with Ian Taylor, who's now the new head coach over at Libertyville for girls soccer. This team is off to a great start. They're 5-0. They're going to be taking on Lane Tech today over at the Deep Dish Classic at New Trier. And that's the Lou Malnati's Deep Dish Classic. Let me say it the right way, even though I'm not trying to throw a plug. It's just that's the name of the tournament. But they got some quality teams within this tournament. I caught up with Ian Taylor yesterday, and this is what he had to say about his team and how he got the job being the head coach at Libertyville. Now with us on the program, we've got the new head coach over at Libertyville for girls soccer, and that happens to be Ian Taylor. How you doing, Ian?
Doing well. How are you?
Doing great. What's it like to be a new head coach for the Libertyville Wildcats?
Been a wild ride so far, just learning the ropes, figuring out all of the nuances of the players and of the staff, and getting things set up, preparing the best we can. But all the prep so far has been worth it, and we're doing a pretty good job.
Now, how did you get the opportunity to take over the position for Daniel DePaz? How did that come about over the last year?
Yeah, so as Daniel decided to transition out of the role, I had the opportunity to step in and put my foot in the ring for the job. And there was a whole process of putting together some team culture stuff, different mission, vision, principle types of ideas, and having a solid foundation off the field of what the culture was going to look like. And I think that really stood out as part of my interview process for the job.
Mm-hmm. Now, you've got a pretty good soccer background. I know you play professionally, right? But not exactly. But tell us, your past and how you have done a lot of stuff soccer-wise.
Yeah, so I did not play professionally. I'm flattered that you said that. But I did play all through high school. I'm from the west side of Cleveland in Ohio and played for a public high school out there. And then continued my career at Lake Forest College in the area and played goalkeeper for them for 4 years. And then I graduated in 2015, and in 2018 got my coaching start in soccer at Lake Forest as a goalkeepers coach with the women's program. So I was with them for 4 years as the goalkeepers coach, an assistant coach for one of those years, and then transitioned into the high school game in 2020, where I was the varsity assistant at Vernon Hills High School, hence the connection to the district. So I was working with Mike McCallie over there for a few years, and then when I got the teaching job at Libertyville, I was able to transition as a soccer coach for Libertyville as well. So that's kind of my path to get here, but it's been a fun ride. It's been really exciting to work under different coaches and see different styles of play and styles of coaching. And I think I've taken a little piece of each person I've worked with, into my coaching today.
Mm-hmm. And your coaching's been pretty good so far. I mean, you're off to a 6-0 start. Can't ask for anything better. And I know there's a lot of talent that runs with the Wildcats soccer program. They've been pretty good over the years. But why is this team off to such a great start?
It really starts with, our leadership group and our players who have been in the program for multiple years. We took time in the off season to talk about and get feedback on how the season went in, the prior years, and, what was going well, what wasn't going so well, and how could we improve, some of those areas. And we established some core values that we wanted to live by so far this season, which are passion, alignment, community, and kindness. And those 4 words came out of multiple discussions with our senior class and other players, and they've really lived that so far, and really stuck to, how do we treat each other, how do we want to be treated, and how do we do the work we do on a daily basis. And I think they've done such a good job so far of just trusting each other, and working through the process, trying to figure out how to take it one play at a time and not worry about the score so much, and just kind of focus on execution and not get too carried away with, what's the rank or what's our record or what's the score of the game. Just play soccer and play it well.
Mm-hmm. Now, you've got a lot of leaders on this team. Who are some of the girls that kind of take the should we say, the bull by the horn in some ways, the ones that have the leadership that lead this team?
Yeah, I mean, our 4 captains this year are Shannon Phillips, Tess McGormley, Audrey Amiot, and Lily Franz. And those 4 senior girls have really shown leadership in a lot of different ways, from their play on the field to how they communicate with their teammates and with the coaching staff, how they've welcomed new players to the program. And they really set the tone for keeping it a positive environment, but also playing really good soccer. And I think we've established kind of that culture so far, and we're working through, every team has their, hiccups here and there, and games that don't go the way you hope they will. But, we're committed to that process and trying to get better every single day. And I think all of those players and more really set the tone for just working hard in practice and getting better every day.
Mm-hmm. Now, you mentioned your captains. You got to mention some other names too, because there's a lot of players that make this work for this team. So go ahead and give them their just due here. Mention those players too.
Yeah, I mean, folks in our midfield. I mean, Shay Kurkowski and Sydney Dulac are back for another season. They're leaders in the middle of the field. Anna George has been a great leader on the outside, stepping in to that left back role. And then we have other players that come off the bench and do a fantastic job, setting the tone in practice and in the game. Bella Yark is one of those players, and a bunch of others. So I mean, we're really fortunate to have a big senior class, and a lot of those seniors are leaders, whether they're a captain or not. And we, like I said, we're really fortunate to have such a strong group, mentally and physically with their game.
Mm-hmm. Now, Ian, I looked at your schedule here. Not a bad schedule to start the season. You've won every game so far. You beat Hershey by a goal. You beat IC Catholic, Glenbrook North, which is a formidable team out of the Central Suburban. You won I wouldn't say easily, but handily over Grays Lake Central. And then you had a 1-0 game over Carmel just recently the other day. But you got all wins. I'm sure you got some ups and downs in this crazy cold weather that we're playing in over the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, it's the weather's been unpredictable for sure. But like I said, we've just been trying to keep our focus on what we can control. How do we take the weather and make it a non-factor as best we can? Playing the right way, playing ball on the deck, trying to get the ball up, building to the middle, and finding chances up in the final third. So yeah, it's been unpredictable for sure, but we're taking every game as the next most important one. Not trying to get too caught up in where we hope to be end of the season.
Mm-hmm. Now you're also taking part in a very good tournament, the Lou Malnati's Deep Dish Classic. I love their pizza, but I'm not sure if they serve you pizza on the soccer field. But you got some tough competition. You're taking on Lane here on Saturday afternoon to start off this tournament. Good teams to face in this on the pitch and on the fields over the next week or so, huh?
Yeah, it's going to be a great test. This tournament historically has been a great chance to see some of the teams we'll see in the playoffs. So we're really looking forward to the test and seeing what we're made of. How do we respond to some of that adversity we'll see against a different team?
Mm-hmm. Now, I got to talk about the North Suburban Conference. You're going to get a good taste of it this year because there are some great teams within the conference. I know everyone's looking at Libertyville, but you got teams like Stevenson, Mundelein, Warren, Lake Zurich. I mean, it's always competitive in the North Suburban. How do you handle those games and those schools?
Yeah, I mean, like I said before, it's all about trying to take it one game at a time. And when we play Stevenson, that's going to be the most important one. When we play Warren, it's going to be the most important game of the week. I mean, we just have to take it one day at a time, one play at a time, and stick to that process of, not getting too hung up on the past, not worrying too much about the future, just kind of staying present and being in the moment. Because, if we make the game, if we play the occasion and not the game, we're going to run into some problems. So we got to play each game like it's the next best one. And, conference or not, I mean, we just got to play our way. And I think if we can do that, we'll do just fine. And the rest will take care of itself.
Mm-hmm. What are a few things you like about this team?
Like I said before, I think our positivity so far in terms of building relationships with each other, on and off the field has been really strong. I think our team is incredibly reflective and does a great job thinking about their mistakes and what went well from previous games and trying to apply that to the next one. And their work rate in practice is just fantastic too. I mean, they're ready to work every day. They're competitive as all get out. And they want it. They want it badly. I mean, they want to win. So it's a great atmosphere to be a part of, and I'm lucky to have my assistant Paul Gibbs with me too, working hard on making some great sessions and getting the soccer piece figured out together has been really fun. So,
all right, Ian Taylor, the coach for the Libertyville Wildcats, off to a great start this season. Thanks for joining with us. All right, we do thank Ian Taylor to join with us. Bruce, I'll say this, and I'm going to get a chance to catch him this afternoon. I'm really believing right now they are the team that's got kind of like the target on the back. You got other teams.
Oh, sure.
The top five that really sits in Lake County, they're mostly from the North Suburban, because you can throw Stevenson in there. You can throw Lake Zurich in there. They got Lauren Bailey that's pretty good. You can throw Warren. Stanstic's awfully good there. Those four teams are going to battle each other. And I'm not even going to throw Mundelein, which I don't even have in my top five. This past week, I got Deerfield at number 5. They were off to a 5-1 start until they met the state champion New Trier that beat them 7-0 this past week. But all those teams there that I mentioned are pretty good. And there's a few others, too, that are in the mix as well. I mean, there's some good teams that we have here in Lake County. I know the weather has been horrible trying to get out there and play, but they're playing some good soccer. I mean, these teams are really have their work cut out. I know conference is just starting from the North Suburban. NLCC is a battle. I like Lakes so far. I think Grays Lake North is showing something. Wakanda's pretty good. Round Lake with Hugo Telez, who did the boys, is now doing the girls this year. Don't count them out. I mean, you got a lot of good teams here to keep an eye on. So just want to mention today some games that are going on as we speak over at Lake Zurich. Hersey and Lakes got started at 9 o'clock, and also Lake Zurich and Glenbrook North playing each other. Then at 12 o'clock, they're going to change up those teams. You'll have Hershey and Glenbrook North, and then Lake Zurich and Lakes go at each other. It's kind of a quad is what they got going on there.
Some teams are playing twice.
Yeah, they're playing twice today.
Twice
They
today.
also played on Thursday.
Oh, man, that's brutal.
It's called a quad. They play each other one
I don't
time
care
around.
what it's called. It's brutal.
What, they're playing 2 games in a day?
Yeah, because you're going to wind up with like 16 miles of running.
Okay. Yeah, that's a lot of running around. Lou Malnati's Classic, we mentioned about
pizza.
Libertyville taking on, no, not pizza. We're talking soccer. Libertyville taking on Lane at 2 o'clock. Right before that, Stevenson will take on New Trier at 12 noon. At Evanston, Lake Forest will take on Lions. Other games today, the Body Armor tournament. That's the old PepsiCo tournament. They're playing that at Waukegan Sports Park. We got some Lake County teams involved. Deerfield is on the field now with De La Salle. Jones and Wakanda at 10. Grant and Solaria Academy at 10. Highland Park Mirrors at 1:15. Warren and Boylan at 1:15. And Plainfield Central will play Zion Benton at 2:45. So that gives you a hint of what we got going on soccer-wise. I do want to talk about some other sports because I find this very interesting with baseball, softball, some of the other sports that we just happen to have around the area. They're getting games in, but it's not easy to do with the weather, as we talked about at the top of the segment. Some games yesterday, Barrington beat Deerfield 9-7. Grant over Round Lake 16-1 in 4 innings.
What?
Yeah, not a good game there. Grays Lake Central over Grays Lake North 10-0. Highland Park beat Buffalo Grove 9-6. The Giants are off to a 9-2 start. Keep an eye on them. Lake Forest over Carmel 2-1. Lakes beat Wakanda 4-3. Libertyville continues to play well. I think they lost a game this week to Stevenson, though. So I think they're like 11-1 at this point. They beat Elk Grove 4-0. Mundelein over Zion Benton 13-3 in 6 innings. And Wheeling beat Vernon Hills 7-5. Softball-wise, Antioch finally found a way to get some victories after a tough start weather, and they were 0-3 to begin the season against some tough teams. They beat Marion Central Catholic 3-0 yesterday. Grays Lake North over Zion 15-2. Lakes beat Richmond Burton 7-5. Libertyville over Lake Zurich 7-4. Mundelein lost to Prospect 14-9. The Mustangs are off to a tough start after making it to state last year. Maybe it's a tougher schedule this year, a little different team. We'll see how well the Mundelein Mustangs do in the North Suburban Conference. Stevenson beat New Trier by a score of 10-9, and Warren over Lake Forest 13-3 in 5 innings. Boys track and field. I really like this name of this meet. It's called the McHenry Truckin' at the McCracken Invitational.
Oh, wonderful.
Well, it's like racing, right? Auto racing. You come up.
It's like I'm watching the movie Slapshot.
Oh, actually, wait a minute. Hold on a sec. I said this wrong.
Oh.
It's not trucking. It's tracking.
Oh, well, that's changed a lot.
Tracking. Get it? Tracking, McCracken. Okay, never mind. Lakes, by the way, won the title on the boys' side. Grant was 2nd. Vernon Hills 3rd. Libertyville was 5th. Grays Lake North was 7th. Girls' side over at the Trackin at McCracken. Lakes also took that. Keep an eye on Lakes. They got a decent track program. Antioch was 2nd. Vernon Hills 4th. Libertyville 6th. And Grays Lake North was 7. Grant was 8th. Over at the Glenbrook North Spartan Relays for the girls, Deerfield took the top spot. Lake Forest was 2nd. Wakanda 5th. And Highland Park was 8th. And the Prospect Invitational for the ladies last night, Prospect was the team that won their own invitational. Grace Lake Central was 5th. And Warren was 7th out of the 9-team field. Boys lacrosse never gets enough notoriety, does it?
See, lacrosse is something I don't mind watching. It wouldn't be my first choice.
Did you ever try that before? Because I'll tell you one thing.
No, I did hockey, so I would rather do
lacrosse,
that.
I am so fearful because if you don't have, gloves on or gear on, the sticks, number one, are solid. That's scary. But the ball for the boys that they use is it's a ball that you might want to play pool with. I forgot what you call that.
Yeah, but it's like it's like a puck.
Oh God, that thing's strong. I talked to a couple of referees. They say at nighttime you don't want to be on a lacrosse field because you can't see that ball coming. It moves so fast. That's scary.
Then stay off the field.
Well, I talked to a guy who said he was never hit by one of them, but he's always fearful.
If you can't see it, they need more light.
Yeah. Well, boys lacrosse, Vernon Hills lost to Geneva 5-1. Grant over Mundelein 14-1. Libertyville beat Lakes 14-8. McHenry got by Antioch 6-5. Warren, which is a predominantly good team, beat Wakanda 17-5. On the girls' side, Lake Zurich edged Fremps 8-7. Mundelein fell to Prospect 12-6.
Question.
And the answer is no. I'm sorry.
No.
Go ahead. What's your question?
The question is, if they're at night, if it's hard to see the ball, is the ball white?
Yes.
Make it yellow.
You ever see? I forgot the name of the pool.
Make it yellow.
Brian's with us in the studio here instead of being on the phone line.
Who is?
Remember that game of
Brian
pool,
is?
not regular pool, but the ball itself. What would they call that ball? You know what I'm
Snooker?
No, not a snooker. I forgot the name of what the lacrosse ball, but it's the same ball that I see.
It's not a pelota or anything.
No,
is it?
no. But it's the same type of ball, but it's
make the
it's like
darn thing-
ceramic or something. It's really solid. And I'm trying to remember the name of it.
Rusty, why don't they use a yellow ball?
They do. The girls use yellow.
they
balls,
do?
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's more of a rubber one.
Right. Yeah.
Well, why
But
don't
the
they
boys
just make
use
this?
like a white solid
Well, make it
ball.
yellow.
Yeah.
I mean, I hate to say this because the boys will wear helmets, the girls don't, because of that reason. And I remember covering a
They should
state
still wear
tournament
helmets.
game. I covered a state tournament game before it was lacrosse was sanctioned by the IHSA, and I was down at SeatGeek Stadium, and there was a Grays Lake. I'm trying to think, it was North or Central player that was in this game, got hit in the helmet right along the ear, and the helmet saved him. But they took his helmet off, and he had blood all around his ear. And I'm like, wow.
That was
If
from
I-
the ball?
The ball hit the helmet.
sticks. I mean, they swing those
Not the
sticks pretty
stick.
hard
Not
too,
the
though.
stick. We're talking
Yeah.
the ball hit the
Okay.
helmet.
Wow.
And lucky he had the helmet on.
Yeah. I watched that indoor lacrosse, and it's fun. And those guys, they just beat each other up.
It's like football indoors.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I'm just saying it's tough, and hats off to him. I just I would not want to play lacrosse, but it's a tough sport, and I know why they do it. The
Sort
fun
of
it.
reminds me a little of hockey
it's like
on
hockey.
wheels.
Yeah.
It's like
I'd
hockey.
rather play that. I can't skate, so.
Oh, okay.
Speaking of hockey, we'll talk about when we come back of where the Blackhawks are at, where the Wolves are at. We'll also talk about some auto racing. We'll have some soccer to talk about. Big game coming up with Messi. Will he show up tomorrow? I got details on that. So
Ooh, we should check the odds board.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. Also, Masters golf and auto racing. So we need to take a break and come back right here on the Sports Corner Sports Guys for a Saturday morning right here on 98.3 FM, The Life.
WRLR 98.3 FM LP, Round Lake Beach, Illinois.
Sports broadcasting on 98.3 The Life is brought to you in part by the law offices of O'Keefe, Lewis, and Bruno PC. 98.3 The Life has an ongoing commitment to Lake County and local high school sports broadcasting. O'Keefe, Lewis, and Bruno also has that commitment and is privileged to support high school sports on local radio. If O'Keefe, Lewis, and Bruno can assist you in a real estate transaction or traffic matter, they can be reached at 847-675-4790. O'Keefe, Lewis, and Bruno, dedicated to serving our community.
If you're talking, they will hear you every single time.
Oh, we're getting killed.
Yeah, well, Kyle's not here.
How come?
Kicked off the team. Didn't Tim tell you? Kyle and some other kids got caught drinking beer in the park a couple of nights ago.
Really?
Yeah, 0 tolerance. He's out for the season.
Come on, it's a first offense, right?
That we know of. But why should that matter? He knew not to drink. I've made it clear to Matt, that's what we expect from him. What have you said to Tim?
Nothing really. You know, a lot of kids try it at this age, so
Yeah, well, a lot of kids don't try it too. I'm not saying that Matt's going to be this perfect kid, but if I don't tell him what we expect and why he shouldn't drink, how's he going to know?
You think kids that age really listen?
They never admit it, Bill, but they hear more than you think.
Talk. They hear you. For more information about talking with kids about underage drinking, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
Hello, this is Ted Schneider, host of Improv Leadership, coming to you live on 98.3 FM The Life, Tuesdays from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. I'll discuss a variety of topics from relationship advice, self-improvement topics, motivational topics, mindful living, current events, book reviews, and even an occasional guest in the studio. So please join me on Improv Leadership, Tuesdays from 6 98.3 FM The Life, or streaming live on 983thelife.com.
We are the NFHS. That stands for the National Federation of State High School Associations. But really, what we stand for, together with the IHSA, are the 333,000 high school sports and performing arts students in Illinois. And so we stand. We stand for the runners, debate team members, and basketball players. We stand for their coaches, officials, and adjudicators. We stand for the drummers, football players, and actors. We stand for the golfers, singers, and swimmers. We stand as the national leader and advocate for these essential activities and all who participate in them and make them possible, because it is our purpose to ensure that high school students get to play, perform, and compete together. To learn more about who we are and what we stand for, visit nfhs.org.
WRLR 98.3 FM LP, Round Lake Beach, Illinois.
Welcome back to the Sports Corner for a Saturday morning. I've got my dancing shoes on, and we got another half hour to go before the new show
you're
comes
dancing
up.
by yourself, my friend.
What, you guys aren't dancing with me? Come on.
No, not in the studio.
Please.
No, I'm sorry. No.
Come on. You're not going to hurt anybody.
No,
You can watch us on Twitch dancing in the studio.
No, it doesn't work. We're lucky.
But
on
YouTube
is going. YouTube. It's going.
Okay.
So,
We never know what's working in the studio. Hey, 50 degrees.
Listen,
I know
we
that's
get fired.
working. Hey, we actually hit 50 degrees. I like that idea. So
I'll alert the media.
expected high today. We're going to push 62, a little bit cooler though.
Rusty's going
near
for that
the
extra
lake.
2 bananas.
Yes.
I know.
Yes.
McHenry.
All
You
day,
don't live in McHenry
You don't live in McHenry County.
No, I'm going for 62 today in Lake County,
What's
and
that,
then
2 bananas
slightly
more?
cooler though near the lake is
Slightly
a possibility.
46.
That is cooler. Middle 40s expected tonight, and then right around 60 coming up tomorrow. So we've got some things to talk about before we get to soccer.
Hard-hitting Blackhawk hockey.
Yeah, Blackhawks. Yeah, no kidding. What is going on with the Blackhawks?
They should bring back Bob Pulford.
Huh?
They should bring back Bob Pulford.
He's up there now. Isn't he?
Yeah.
Hey, but the Blackhawks had an awfully. Blackhawks had a big
guys.
game against Boston the other night. 3 goals in a span of 3 minutes? That was crazy.
Yeah.
That's some
no pushover
excitement.
either.
Give some credit on that. And something you just have not seen out of this team. Where did it come from is the question mark. And is it the end of the season where other teams are just giving in?
No, the Bruins, they made a lot of trades at the deadline
Flyers
to
bad,
unload
Sabres
players.
bad.
Yeah.
Penguins sort of bad.
Yeah.
You know who I pull it for? I want the Maple Leafs to win the cup.
That would be cool.
It's
That
been
would
a
be
long
cool.
time. I
Yeah.
would like to see that.
They can certainly do it.
Yes, they can.
I was kind of hoping for like a Winnipeg.
Oh, they're only plus 28 differential. They're playing over their head.
Hey, Blackhawks, that's what we're talking about. Big game
Why?
the other night. Well, still they're playing in the season. Connor Bedard, I don't think has been so productive goal scoring. But
Well, what do you expect on a bad team?
something in that order. Blackhawks are back in action. They'll take on Winnipeg. They'll be a tough task in that. Back at home at the UC 6:00 tonight.
Well, they
Look
won
how excited the studio is.
2 out of their last 3 games they've won.
Oh, that's pretty good.
But this is a tough Jets team. Winnipeg Jets,
Yes.
they're not, I don't see them. No. And they're one of the front runners for the Stanley Cup. Like you said, Toronto,
Yeah.
Winnipeg's up there. Dallas has blown everybody away, it seems like lately, but we'll see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean,
Bedard 20 goals, Donato 30 goals.
far below what they were expecting from him this year.
I think it's a team-oriented thing. I really do.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't. Anybody was thinking this kid was going to score 50 all the time. If this was a first-place team, he might be close to 50.
Those were high expectations, 50. I think
Well,
a lot of
we
people
said
thought they would-
35.
Yeah, I
didn't
think
we?
a lot of people
Yeah.
thought he would get at least 30, maybe 40.
Yeah.
But yeah, the people that thought he was going to get
He was
50
injured
was
early though, right? as well.
right away.
All right.
Yeah.
Chicago Wolves have clinched a spot for the playoffs. Hey, congratulations. At least one team's going to go somewhere in the wintertime outside of the Bulls. They're ahead of playoffs. They swept the Moose last weekend from Manitoba with a 3-2 victory.
I love
last
that name,
Sunday
the
in Manitoba.
Moose.
So hats off to the Wolves. They will be traveling to take on Milwaukee, and they'll face on the Admirals tonight, 6 o'clock. So they've had a little time off during the week because sometimes they play during the week games. Schedule winding down for both our hockey teams.
They've got 5 games left.
Is it 5? How many more for the Hawks?
Or 3.
4? 3? Okay.
3 left.
So
3
let's.
left. Okay. Over to soccer. Kind of an off week for the Stars. International break where the women national team was taking on Brazil. They lost, in fact, 2-1 to them. They won one other game against Brazil previously before that. They're back in action next week. They'll be on home turf at SeatGeek Stadium. It'll be Saturday night, 6:30, looking for their first victory of the season. Chicago Fire settled to a 2-1 defeat to the New York Red Bulls on the road last week to drop their record to 3-2-1. Still not a bad start. However, they got a matchup with Inter Miami coming up tomorrow. And it'll be at Soldier Field. They've opened up the 400 section on the west side. They're expecting at least 40,000 fans.
So that means he's not playing.
Well, yeah, they're expecting all these fans because Messi is expected to be there. Maybe he has not played the last few years. And I just saw the CONCACAF quarterfinal where he played and hit an inspiring penalty kick, helped the Inter Miami beat LAFC to advance from the quarterfinals into the semifinals to take on Vancouver. But will he show up tomorrow? That's the question mark. Game starts at 3:30, Soldier Field. Greg Berhalter talking about facing the foes from Miami.
Anytime you get to play against a team that's close to the top of the table in your conference, it's some type of measuring stick, right? And for us, looking at Red Bull last week was, okay, they made it to the final last year, a team you're playing away, it's difficult. We want to measure ourselves. How can we do? And so for Miami, it's no different. This is a group that has high aspirations. And if we have these high aspirations, we have to be able to compete against teams like Miami. And so we expect Sunday to be a good game, and we're looking forward to it.
All right. So I can't say Greg Berhalter sounds excited. He's not saying much about Messi per se, but I guess you can't control what Lionel Messi wants to do, if he wants to come to Chicago or not. And by the way, I did read something of interest that somebody's poking into the contract negotiations that he may get an extension and stay with Miami longer. I think he's 36 years old. Of course, he can play forever the way he plays out there on the field. What he sees on the field is amazing. What he can do with the soccer ball is amazing too. But at some point, he's going to retire. But the question is how much money they give him, how long he wants to play. That's up to him.
Well, I think one of the things was they didn't want to lose him to some stupid injury in cold weather on a wet field in Soldier Field the past few years against a bad team.
Of course.
So, but now the Fire, they're right there in the middle of the pack. This would be a game that he wouldn't have to play in the past, but now maybe he should. I think.
What do you think the odds are by the end of the year the Fire's bad again?
It's possible. I don't expect him to be at the top, but if we see improvement,
500 would be nice.
I mean, they've gotten they've gotten some goal production. You got 7 games, you scored 13, 14 goals. That's a lot better than last year where you're averaging 1 goal a game. You're almost 2 goals a game right now. And you're seeing some, really good offense out of Kuipers. He's one of the top players in the league scoring goals. You got Swingendal, who's helping out. You got Mamba, who's, helping out also on offense. Brian Gutierrez has helped out in the midfield. Chris Brady's been looking pretty darn good in the back. You just got to shore up the defense every now and then.
Yeah.
Other than that, I mean, this team has really played much better under Greg Berhalter than what we've seen over the last few years.
Absolutely. If they wouldn't have given up that late goal to Montreal, I mean, you're talking about a top 4 or 5 team in the conference right now.
Mm-hmm. I can definitely agree with that. So we'll see where it goes tomorrow, 3:30. I'm sure I'm going to hear a lot of stories by the time I get to Soldier Field. Them saying, yeah, he's here.
then
or
he
he's
left.
not, or else he didn't hop the plane
Then he
from
left, yeah.
Miami. I mean, I've heard a lot of stories with that over the years. He never came up with the team. He stayed in Miami. So I want to see it. I want to see it to believe. Of course, the weather being around 55, 60 tomorrow could be a little bit cooler depending
What
on
time's the game?
3:30 in the
Why
afternoon.
don't they schedule this game in like June or July when he could come up and play?
It's the league. It's how the league does it. And what gets me is why is it scheduled Sunday afternoon? It's something I don't know if Apple's got it or another network might have it, and they want to make a showcase game with Messi here in Chicago. I mean, Messi's a top priority, top player in the league.
Oh, absolutely. It's going to draw and it's going to give you ratings.
So we'll see what they go with that coming up tomorrow afternoon. I think is it on Apple or is it on FS1? That's what I was kind of wondering if you can look that up there. That game.
I would imagine it's FS1 if I had to.
No,
bet.
I'm thinking it's Apple. I thought it was on Apple if you got Apple TV, but it might be on FS1. It's a possibility. But then again, they have racing on Sundays too, so that's why I'm wondering.
It does not say.
Doesn't say where it's on. It's probably on Apple, at least at this point.
Hold on a second.
Apple TV.
I got a way to check.
It is on MLS Season Pass.
Yeah, that's Apple.
Kill some time.
Is it?
Yeah,
Is that
that's
Apple? Okay.
So
I have to look it up.
Apple TV. By the way, I've heard some people talk about that they're not happy with the Apple package. It's like a 10-year deal, and you got to pay like $79 a year to get it. And the way they've set it up, they've kind of broadened their horizon instead of doing like everybody playing at the same time. They spread the schedule out a little better over the last couple of years between Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So it's still a learning process. I'm not happy because it's not on, regular TV opposed to being on the Apple to watch it. But it is, you got to take that subscription out. You got to watch it that way. They should help out the media in my book. But
Listen, you got to have to get used to this because more and more games are going to be going to
Don't
streaming.
even want to go there.
Yeah.
I know money, this and that.
But they should throw a game or two up on the Chicago Sports Network.
Actually, I think
people would watch it.
I actually think that they had a Blackhawk game, WCIU the other day.
Really?
Yeah, I saw that on Tuesday. Yeah, I saw that. So that's funny how that happened.
Well, they occasionally do throw it out there.
Was that because baseball took over the?
Well, you've got so many
I don't
events going on. You got to put it somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could be.
Okay.
I don't
Could
know.
be.
I can't say for sure, but
so
MLS has those random. I think it's Saturday or Sunday games that you can watch on regular TV. The other day it was like Kansas City was playing Dallas or somebody. And I just happened to be flipping.
You
through
would
the
want
channels.
to. We would want to push soccer on free TV rather than pay for it because that's going to be
Get the kids to watch it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they all enjoy that. You know that.
Yeah.
It's great entertainment. Come on, soccer. Get a kick out of it.
Well,
So,
why do you always give that kick out of a thing?
I don't know. Just
Don't
like when
forget the
it's the same thing when you get around the track. You spin around, right?
MASL playoffs starting soon.
So that's true. You're right about that. And keep an eye on Milwaukee up there, even though we don't talk about indoor soccer, but I've always enjoyed that sport.
Me too.
So let's get around the track since I mentioned about the wheels. No, by the way, I'm glad you brought up that music because the Kentucky Derby is around
Derby's
the
coming
corner.
close. Yep.
But I've been keeping an eye on some of these horses, but that's the first week of May. So
Well, somebody forgot to keep an eye on Denny Hamlin last week.
what?
Because he
help
won
me
his-
out. It was overtime again. What
Yes,
happened?
he got a great restart. He had a final pit stop that worked out absolutely perfect, and he claimed his trophy for the Goodyear 400 at Darlington. Always a fun place to go.
Yep.
It's his second consecutive victory for Hamlin. And guess when the last time he pulled that off? 13 years ago.
Wow, it's been that long.
2012 when he won at Bristol and then Atlanta.
Huh.
But he beat William Byron to the finish by 0.6 seconds. And I won the race last week, by the way.
Yeah, we don't want to hear it. We don't want to hear it. We want it.
But anyway, tomorrow at 2:00 our time being Central Time, Eastern Central Daylight Time, I might add, Ford City 500 at Bristol, Tennessee, the Bristol Motor Speedway. 500 laps, 266.5 miles, another little short track thing.
500
Should be a lot of fun.
huh?
Should be a lot of fun.
I might change my thought here. I was going to go somewhere else. I thought it was a shorter track, but I'm wrong.
It is short.
It's short?
Yeah. Little 0.54.
Oh, I'm going to stick with my first pick then. I don't have first pick. I know Paul does, and he wants Larson.
Of course he does.
He thinks he's going to win another one.
Probably because Mike probably wanted Larson.
By the way, Mike's leading over all of us. He's got 20 points, 5 points ahead of Brian and Bruce.
Yeah,
right
it won't
now.
last.
Mike wants to go with Byron.
Oh.
I'm going to take Elliott.
Oh.
See, I was going to change my pick, but I don't know why. I'm glad I didn't do that. Yeah, of course, Brian's got the next pick, and I took your pick away today.
You did take my pick. Yeah, I'll take Christopher Bell then.
You want the Bell? I was going to go with the Bell, and thereafter I said no. Stick with your first choice.
Yeah,
Bruce.
I'm not going again. I'm going to deny a third win in a row for Hamlin because the odds are with me that won't happen again. So I'm going to go with Blaney. See, he's on my list as the next pick, but I'm not going down that alley.
You don't want to be left with the.
No, I did that one time and lost, so the odds are much better in my favor this time.
I thought it was worth it for you to do that.
No, absolutely not.
So it doesn't work in racing, but it works in golf.
I'm going with the percentages that won't happen again.
One thing that stands out that gets me is that we're seeing more of these overtime races lately in the last couple of years.
Too many crashes.
Now, does the viewer like that idea, you think?
I don't think would be the one to ask about that. Maybe the drivers are more aggressive now than they've been in a long time. And usually when you get into restarts and stuff, it's usually because there's been a crash.
Yeah. I don't know too much about it.
That's why Mike would be the person to ask about it.
I mean, it's like the extra time in
soccer.
Get
him on the phone.
Do you like the extra time in soccer? I don't.
I don't like soccer anyway, so it doesn't matter whether it's extra time or no time. Anyway.
But in racing in general, there has been more overtime races as of late in the last couple of years.
There have.
And the only thing is, do we like the idea for the restart? You got, what is it, 1 lap or 3 laps? I forgot what it is exactly.
I think it's lap plus 1 white flag.
Something like in that order.
We should get Mike on about that.
We can do that.
You don't even need a reason.
He's the extraordinaire when it comes to racing.
Absolutely.
So let's go over to golf if we can. Because last week, the winner of the Valero Texas Open turned out to be Brian Harmon.
Yep.
Went 9 under par. What are you raising your hand for?
No, I'm bitching.
Oh, I thought he was raising his hand.
Scratching my head because
I thought maybe he raised his hand thinking he won last week.
No, I won the week before.
No, Paul won last week with that pick with his first choice. I was gonna say you were down at 12.
Yeah, that's why I get a good pick, right?
Yeah. So this week it's Masters time. And I'll tell you one thing: if you ever get a chance to watch that par 3 tournament,
that's supposed to be a lot of fun.
It's turned into a festive event where you got all the kids out there now. And I had a kick out of McIlroy's kid. She tapped the ball, and Lowry's sitting there watching the ball go down the hill slowly, like a Timex watch. It kept going down the hill, getting close to the hole, and it drops in, and everyone went berserk when it did drop in the hole. And she's sitting there. Like, what did I do? Older sister comes over, gives her a hug, and she goes in Daddy's shoulders crying.
Speaking of golf.
She had no clue what she did. I think she must be like 3 years old or something, but she just tapped the ball.
Speaking of golf, when we're done here, I got a nice little story I can tell you.
Well, hold on. Another note on that par 3 tournament, Tiger Woods is getting involved with the Masters to build a par 3 course on the grounds. So now you're going to have a par 3 course. Figure give it a couple years, he'll get it done. So instead of taking the holes that you use on the course itself, you have a separate par 3 course that you can use for the Masters par 3 event.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
That'll be interesting. 9 holes.
They have the room for all that down there?
I guess that's what they're talking
They'll
about.
make
So,
yeah,
I think that'd be pretty cool. I mean, he does design courses these days.
Yeah. Well, most of those.
So
guys
who's getting the
do
first
it,
pick this week?
Let's see where we at. Picks here. I was going to go through the scores first. Justin Rose, 9. He's sitting at 8 under par. 1 shot ahead of Bryson DeChambeau at 7. Roy McIlroy, a surging 6 under par yesterday after he double bogeyed each of 17 and 18 on the opening day. He was at 4 under at one point and went down to even par. Casey Connors kind of lurking in the back. Matt McCarthy also down. Shane Lowry is back a few shots. And then Tyrrell Hatton, who was really with the leaders, and same with Scotty Scheffler. They ran into trouble the last couple holes. Scheffler got stuck under a tree and had to kind of get down low to hit out of there. Still some great golfers. Jason Day at 4 under. You needed to be 2 over par to make the cut.
Phil missed.
But there were a lot of players that are big names that did not make the cut. Dustin Johnson, Keegan Bradley,
Phil Mickelson.
Phil Mickelson was another.
Bernard
Langer also missed a chance.
Who was the guy that shot a big round 90 in the first round?
Yeah, I heard about that. He shot a 90 and he came back with a
71.
Nick Dunlap.
Yeah.
And he's still Missed the cut, by the way.
Well, yeah, but I'm surprised he didn't pack it up right then and there.
And also your amateur, which was Kent, he ended up missing the cut too at 10 over par. Not an easy golf course in general.
Nope.
So pick-wise, score-wise, I should say right now, Bruce leading the way with 46. I've got 37. Paul's got 35. Brian, 25. And Mike, 24. So we're kind of spread out a little bit here.
Yeah, you can just
I've got first pick because somebody I picked last week decided to tailspin the other way. That didn't help me out.
So make your pick.
So same with Brian. We both fell into the same category, but for some reason we both ended up in a tie. But since I was ahead of you last week, I get the honors this week. Brian, sorry to do that to you, but I'm it's funny. I look at the leaderboard. Justin Rose, I'm not sold on. He's going to hold on. He's good in the first round of Masters, but then he slips. I'll be honest, Scheffler, great idea for third jacket, but tough to do. I'm going to go with McIlroy.
Oh, no third jacket, but I'm not allowed to say no 3 wins in a row.
No. Okay. Brian, who are you going to go with?
God, I should do what Bruce does and take the leader. But I don't think I'm going to do that. I'm going to go DeChambeau.
You want DeChambeau?
Yeah.
Going to take one of these LIV type golfers. Well, that leaves Mike. His first choice is Hovland. I don't even know where Hovland is. He's back a few shots. Morikawa was another good one too. So he's gonna take Hovland, which leaves Bruce with a good pick.
Yeah, this is a tough one.
Who are you going to take?
It's either the leader or Scheffler.
Uh-huh.
How many strokes is Scheffler back?
3.
Ooh, I'm taking him.
Thing is, to win a third jacket, he would only join
doesn't
Jack
matter.
Nicklaus.
It's not in a row, right?
Well, that means Paul's going to take the leader.
That's fine. He can have the leader. I'm not sold on Justin Rose. I got a good golf story for you guys.
Go ahead and say it.
Have you ever heard the story about the elderly man and Jesus and Moses playing golf? No, never heard that one, Rusty?
I think I've heard this story, but go ahead.
Okay, maybe our listeners haven't. Anyway, they get up to the first hole. Moses tees off, hits his shot to the right into the water. So they all go up there. Moses parts the water, gets down in there, chips it up on the green. And Jesus looks up and says, Moses, that's a great shot. So they get to the second hole. Jesus tees up, yanks his shot to the left into that lake. Okay. Well, see, now for Jesus, the ball sits on top of the water. So he just walks out there, chips it up on the green, and Moses says, boy, Jesus, that was a great shot, Elderly man gets up there. He whacks this big boomer right down the middle. So far, it goes over the edge of the fairway and into another lake. And they walk up to this lake, and they look, and there's no ball anywhere. And all of a sudden, this carp flies up 5 feet out of the water with the ball in its mouth. A starling comes flying by, grabs the ball, flies to the green, drops it next to the cup, and a squirrel comes out from behind the tree and taps it in. And Jesus looks at the elder man and says, nice shot, Dad.
Oh, my.
That's good.
Octavia Detel.
Yes.
That's a sad story.
Very sad. He's been out of the league a dozen years already.
You got a quick minute, so.
Yeah. It was
part of the plane crash in Dominican Republic?
No, it was a club.
I'm sorry.
I'm
sorry. That was in New York?
Right. No, this is in Colombia.
Oh, Colombia. I'm sorry.
Yeah, the roof caved in. And
that was that. Yeah,
what was it? 147 people were killed. Does that sound right?
That's right. Yeah.
Over 220.
220 now?
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of tributes by former teammates and people in
How
baseball.
old was he?
I don't know. He had to be late 40s.
51.
51. Okay. Did you guys hear about the August 10th baseball game where the Royals beat the Twins 3-2? There was a perfect game. Umpire Mark Reppinger only called the second perfect game on record. 136 of 136 calls.
Wow. No kidding. All right. On that, we got to run out of here. Thank you, Bruce. Thank you, Brian. Thanks to Tomas Moran. Thanks to Ian Taylor. Greg Burkholzer from the Fire. We thank everybody, the listeners. We've got to run out of here. We'll be back with the Lake County Sports Scoop on Monday and another edition of the Sports Corner coming up next Saturday. Have a great weekend. So long, everybody.
WRLR 98.3 FM LP, Round Lake Beach, Illinois.
If you're talking, they will hear you every single time.
Oh, we're getting killed.
Yeah, well, Kyle's not here.
How come?
Kicked off the team. Didn't Tim tell you?